Those state representatives tell me they're concerned with what's been uncovered in our investigation and will be attending that meeting tomorrow that OPCD insisted would be closed. Terrell, do you have any comment that you would like to share about the findings so far?
We have no comments.
That's right, and some people are very shocked to hear this. Now, we only had so much time yesterday, but in the 3 folders I looked at out of the hundreds that were there, I was able to find multiple pages that were rejected because it was missing one thing on the page, according to the registrar's office. I called the names that were listed on those pages, and some tell me they're concerned to learn their signature didn't count. Do you think you would have ever found out that your name wasn't counted if I hadn't called you?
No shot. There's no way.
In the smoke. So what can you tell us about this situation?
Yeah, you know, Daryl, just earlier it was a little bit thicker with that plume back behind me here, but what feels like's happening right now is that smoke is kind of just settling in this area. And I mean, the smell is just, I don't even know how to explain it. Fresh and familiar faces and new ideas. We're hearing a lot of optimism here at the Capitol from both sides of the party lines. Now, veterans and newbies alike tell me they're excited for what the new year will bring. Looking into these documents in our past reporting, we found that former Mayor Mitch Landrieu did go to a sister city trip in the last 3 years of his term.
But one of them put
is that
a knife
someone that is possibly that is the suspect right there?
I have no idea if that's related. I mean, we arrest people on a regular basis. It's, you know, right here on the scene. Could be related, could be not. You'll have to give me a few minutes.
Well, guys, neighbors are saying it was like being in the middle of a battle zone as shots were being fired left and right. Bullets were hitting cars, hitting homes in this area. And all while this was happening, there were kids actually on this school bus right back behind me here. I was told it was a full school bus of kids. And what some people are telling me is the kids were diving down to the ground trying to take cover. Do you think that that was the best use of taxpayer money?
Absolutely. Because the city of New Orleans, we're a world-class city. The city of New Orleans is a model for being on the front lines of climate change.
That's right. So the State Ethics Board, they're charging Mayor Cantrell for breaking a state ethic law by flying first class on the taxpayer dime 15 times. July 2022, the first time I asked Mayor LaToya Cantrell about her travels. She had just gotten back from her first Sister Cities trip to France and another trip to Switzerland. Do you know how much you've spent for the past 2 Sister City trips?
2 Sister City, no, it's a collect. I do business on behalf of the city and not just in isolation. So no, I don't know offhand, just looking through the tunnel. I look at the whole.
Do you understand why some people are concerned, though?
I cannot, I don't know what you're asking me.
According to his lawyers, he was arrested last Thursday. What took so long for us to find this information out?
Unless you ask us, we don't just run and tell you. I mean, we don't have to report everything out like that. We're not required to do that, but nevertheless, it's not anything that we're hiding either.
Well, the words the mayor used to describe the hearing into the mailers and also Joseph was the council was disrespectful, dangerous, and unconstitutional. This comes as he's being charged with gross misconduct, neglect of duty, and incompetence. That second vehicle that was carjacked, literally right back behind me here in this driveway. Our new information tells us an arborist was concerned about that tree 10 days before it fully fell and even told the city, but nothing was done. Some are asking why wasn't it removed sooner? That's the question I took to the city. Was there any plans to remove it before the tree fell on the teen?
Unfortunately, we have no comment.
I feel like you're going to be able to bring that strong leadership here to the city?
Yes, I do.
No question about it?
None. I wouldn't have applied.
Emperor's had recommended the city maybe transfer some of the people that are on NOMERS over to their system that would help, you know, dissolve some of those payments. Is that something that you guys have considered?
No. I said that we're considering going down the path towards of litigation.
I sent out a letter saying that OPSO miscalculated when it came to overtime last year for Mardi Gras and ended up actually overpaying. What is the sheriff's stance on this?
So I do not have a response to that right now, but I do know the agency's working on a response and they can get that to you guys in writing.
They later sent us a letter saying, quote, OIG's contention that overtime was calculated improperly is erroneous. Now at this time, that Repath app that goes on your cell phone is just a proposal from the judges. There's been no plan put in place just yet, but we will continue to follow the story. Reporting here in New Orleans, I'm Cassie Schirm, WDSU Investigates. The suspension was denied by the mayor and OPCD board chair, who say the investigation by the Office of Inspector General is based off allegations. They say Tyrell Morris is a vital part of their operation and he will stay on until his resignation date. The investigation into Tyrell Morris comes after 2 months of WDSU Investigates digging for answers. And are you okay if I record this?
Yeah, no, it's fine. Yeah, absolutely.
After sending multiple emails, I spoke to Director Tyrell Morris on May 11th, 4 days after his accident in his OPCD vehicle. It happened at 10:40 p.m. on Elysian Fields Avenue under the I-610 overpass.
I was at the intersection of 610 and Elysian Fields where a vehicle came behind me. He kind of rolled from the side on my right side, and he clipped the part of my bumper. And he tried to go straight, like through the light, but it was in the turn lane. I didn't see him at all because there was no headlights. But anyways, immediately once we made impact, we both pulled over to the side. I got out, I checked on him.
WDSU Investigates took a look at the 911 call logs. They show Morris called into dispatch but then canceled the call nearly 20 minutes later.
No one was injured, neither of us. I myself called it in, gave the location, gave license plate information. And then we kind of waited. But we started the process of exchanging insurance information, just like as the law requires. And then the dispatcher advised that she did not have any units available. It's going to be waiting a while. So we waited quite a bit, like another 15, 20 minutes. I asked the driver, I said, hey, there's no injury here. It's property damage only. Technically, we can exchange information, but it's on you.
He says they then left and drove his damaged car to his house, where we found the car 4 days later. Now, according to Morris, he was the one that was hit in this accident. But according to the footage that we received from this city crime camera back behind me here, that might not be the case. Take a look at the top left corner of your screen. Sources say the video shows OPCD vehicle was waiting at the red light. When the light turns green, Morris's vehicle veers right and hits the other car as it's turning. After stopping, Morris turns on his blue emergency lights on his vehicle and turns to pull right behind the other car. Morris also told me he did not get a drug or alcohol test after the accident.
He has the parameters in place to protect our assets, and in the event that there's an injury or there may be an elevation of criminality there, the policies speak to it, but this was a simple bumper.
I asked for that policy issued in 2019. He sent me this one that states, if injuries are reported, the operator of the OPCD vehicles must take a drug or alcohol test as soon as possible. But in my investigation, I got that exact document with the same title, date, signature that was submitted in a 2021 audit to Richard CPA, and it has 4 words less than the one OPCD gave me. The operator of OPCD vehicles must take a drug and alcohol test as soon as possible. It's missing those 4 words, if injuries are reported. Looking at the metadata of the document given to me by OPCD, it says it was last modified by Tyrell Morris at 12:44. That's 17 minutes after I emailed him.
If that was altered after the accident, if that wasn't the official document, that could be a possible state felony violation.
Now, due to these findings, City Council leaders requested the OPCD board to suspend Tyrell until the investigation is over.
I respect their feedback. Thank you very much.
The mayor disagrees.
Tyrell Morris, director of OPCD, is a vital part of our public safety team, as has been demonstrated over the past 5 years as I've been mayor, and that's something that we will continue to engage him as our director.
Do you find it concerning that documents, any kind of form of documents that are city policy documents as well, because it's a quasi-unit, have been altered?
If they, in fact, have been altered, I don't know that to be true. So until the investigation moves forward and we'll see what comes out of that, we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. But right now, we're dealing with allegations.
WDSU was first to report that Morris submitted his resignation Monday, citing his mental health. Morris's last day with OPCD is September 15th. In studio, I'm Cassie Schirm, WDSU News.
I, as a mother, should still have my Cherie and should still have her David. It's not fair.
One mother is worried the city of New Orleans isn't doing enough to protect people this big Mardi Gras weekend.
Well, this as the 4th anniversary of her daughter's death approaches. Her daughter was killed in 2019 when a drunk driver plowed into a group of bicyclists after the Endymion parade.
WDSU investigative reporter Cassie Schirm in studio. Cassie, you found DWI enforcement has drastically dwindled.
That's right. WDSU Investigates found for the past decade, NOPD's response to DWI incidents has decreased while accident deaths and injuries have increased. And Cherie Wall's mom says she can't help but think more can be done to stop what happened to her daughter from happening to anyone else.
I love you with my very soul. And if I could have you back, you could have my place so that you could live.
The past 4 years have been painful for mother Louise Benjamin. Her daughter Cherie Walls was killed by a drunk driver in Mid-City after the Endymion parade back in 2019.
She's probably the best daughter that anyone could have.
The crash was all caught on camera. In the video, you see the victims on their bikes on Esplanade Avenue. Less than 30 seconds later, Tashante Tony flies by in his black Camaro. Traveling 80 miles per hour, he almost strikes one bicyclist, hits several cars, and then plows into the victim, killing Walls and another victim, David Hines. And Tony didn't stop. Video shows him crash into another vehicle on Esplanade. His car spins out of the median. Tony opens the door and takes off running. His blood alcohol content was more than twice the legal limit.
Your vehicle became a weapon like a shotgun that put a bullet through somebody's head and killed them.
Tony pleaded guilty that October to 16 criminal counts, including vehicular homicide. The judge gave him a 90-year sentence. It was reduced to 65 after an appeal. 2 years before that crash, a drunk driver plowed into a crowd during the Endymion parade. At least 24 people were hurt, including now interim police chief Michelle Woodfork.
It happened just a matter of seconds. We heard impact and people were scattering.
And now Cherie Wall's mother is concerned about the recent lack of law enforcement stops to catch impaired drivers.
Not only am I nervous, there will be more deaths. And how many deaths, how many lives? The city of New Orleans takes this seriously.
WDSU Investigates found the department arrested 69 drunk drivers last year. In 2018, it was nearly 600 arrests, double that in 2014.
There were 69 DWI arrests in 2022. It's abysmal. It's horrific.
Former police chief Ronald Surpass says when he was on the force, that's the same amount of arrests 2 of his officers would do in 1 month.
It wasn't that long ago in my career, I was a sergeant and I was in charge of the New Orleans Police Department DWI unit. And we had 6 or 7 officers. And each of those officers every month, just those 6 or 7 officers would average 20 to 30 DWI arrests alone per person. DWI enforcement requires a specially trained officer who is essentially a detective. They have to have a lot of experience so that their testimony works in court.
Interim Superintendent Michelle Woodfork says the lack of officers is a major contributing factor, but they are working on a solution.
We still have a manpower problem, so of course the numbers in our traffic unit aren't up to what they used to be, but we're working back to that, getting the OSS system in place, working that contract out so someone else can actually handle traffic accidents and we can get back to doing more proactive traffic stops for DWI and the like.
But Benjamin's worried that's not enough. That's why in February of 2021, she worked with Mothers Against Drunk Driving to help raise awareness.
My son, David Hines,
and my daughter, Cherie Walls, was killed by a drunk driver.
We did a video, and it was supposed to be used for training at the city of New Orleans. We went through painstaking lengths to put that video together. And believe me, that was the most difficult video I've ever done.
Bam, bam, bam. He hit 80 miles an hour, 17 times, a bike, a person, a car.
WDSU Investigates found that video was not sent to all city employees like MAD had discussed with a city representative.
When they were ready to present the video, MAD kept getting excuses and then it was just washed.
During that time frame, multiple city employees were arrested for driving while impaired, leaving Benjamin wondering why the video wasn't being shown.
It's kind of like what they say, we were ghosted. And I think it was political. It wasn't the right timing. I forget what was going on at the time, but the insinuation was it's just not a good time to show that right now.
Now, we reached out to the mayor's office days ago with multiple emails asking who saw that video and why it was not shown to all city employees like previously discussed. They have not responded. But whether anyone sees that video or not, Benjamin says she has one message for the public.
I'm pleading with people there in this Mardi Gras season. Think of my Cherie and think of David.
Now, state police will be upping their enforcement, so hopefully they'll be able to help more this weekend and hopefully even after Mardi Gras season.
Good reporting and an excellent reminder for this weekend. Thank you, Cassie. And we'll learn more about their operational plan tomorrow.
Yeah, just to be safe overall. And this is scheduled, the operational plan is scheduled to happen around 4 p.m. And you can count on WDSU to have it for you right here on air and WDSU.com.
Year after year.
Here we are again. It's like a water park around here.
Drainage issues.
Streets just flood all over the place.
Sinkholes.
You could walk out your front door and down the hole.
And busted pipes plague the city of New Orleans.
I guess old pipes, just like old people. You don't know when they'll go.
And many residents are fed up.
It's very frustrating to live here in New Orleans at this time.
Do you think this is acceptable for the city of New Orleans?
This city does need and deserve better attention, and it should.
Ghassan Carbon is the executive director of the Sewage and Water Board of New Orleans. He says it's the age of the pipes that has the agency trying to keep their head above water.
So we have 1,600 miles of those throughout the city, and half of that population, so 800 miles of our distribution mains, are 80 years or older, exceeding their service life. 30% of those are 100 years or old.
And because of the age of those pipes, Carbon says the city is drowning, playing catch up with thousands of projects in backlog.
Who is at fault when it comes to that?
I mean, I've taken a position not to look back too much and dwell on it. I mean, certainly the numbers speak for themselves. We have not been replacing water mains for years. And obviously, my predecessors maybe prioritized other things, or the funding was not available. But clearly, it hadn't been done in a systematic, intentional way. It was just left alone, and we spend a lot of money and a lot of effort on a daily basis making repairs to those mains, which impacts the quality of life of our residents.
Taking a look at this map of all pipes across the city, WDSU looked at where the oldest and newest pipes are laid out. On this map, red means the pipes were built in 1900 to 1912, orange 1920 to 1939, yellow 1940 to 1959, green 1960 to 1979, and dark green is the most recent from 2000 to 2021. New Orleans East and Lakeshore have some of the newer pipes, dating a little older than 45 years, while uptown and around Audubon Park, you can see it's all red. Looking at those pipes, they're more than 100 years old. Now the department is racing against the clock to replace those pipes.
Now, this is one of the projects on South Claiborne where they're redoing the entire pipeline. Now, crews here are telling me that the old pipe was so old that when they started working on it, it started to fall apart and disintegrate. That's why they're laying down hundreds of feet of this new pipe here that will go underground. And neighbors in the area tell me they're hoping it will help with the flooding after dealing with this for more than a year.
Now things have to get going, and it's unfortunate that it's going to really affect a lot of homeowners in the New Orleans area for a long time.
So far, 100 have been replaced, and Sewage and Water Board says they have 2 years left in spending before the project ends.
In 2 years, if we don't continue replacing the pipes, what kind of condition will the city be in?
It could be very catastrophic, because those water mains, the breaks are going to get worse and worse. And you know, when we talk about a distribution system, it's not just the mains, it's also the valves that operate and kind of help us isolate a break when that happens. If these valves don't work, that main could be indefinite. It could take on days before we're able to isolate it.
It would would take nearly 20 years to replace the older pipes, costing up to $80 million every year. That's over $1.2 billion in the next 2 decades. Now, Sewage and Water Board could ask the City Council for a rate increase, but there has been some billing issues.
Outrageous bill pricing, billing being inconsistent.
The bill right after this, $1,500.
The issue has been lingering since November of 2016.
For the past 6 months, Councilmember Joe Giarrusso says he's received over 100 complaints of billing issues just in his district that covers Lakeview and parts of Gentilly, Uptown, and Mid-City. He says that needs to be addressed before the city will consider giving more funds.
Well, it has to be the first priority, and we've been saying this for such a long time.
That's why Sewage and Water Board says they're focusing on the meters.
We're moving from the need to manually read 140,000 meters on a monthly basis to swapping or replacing every single meter in the city with an automated or smart meter that allow us to receive a signal on regular basis of the consumption of that particular meter.
Corbin says they've installed 3,000 smart meters, and in the next 2 years, they're going to replace 137,000.
And that is going to virtually solve all issues in terms of timeliness, accuracy, and just receiving an accurate bill on a regular basis.
What would you tell frustrated community members?
It's very frustrating at times, but we are very cognizant of what they want us to be and what we need to do to earn their trust and their confidence. It's not lost on us that we have failed them in the past, and we want to do better.
Now, an interesting fact that WDSU Investigates found out during this whole thing is that New Orleans experiences 5.5 more times of water main breaks than anywhere else in the country. That's the national average. So it's just really interesting.
That is interesting. A lot of work ahead.
I know, a lot of work ahead, and I mean, they're going to need a lot of money to finish all of that as well. So
absolutely. Thank you, Cassie. Good information there. The family of a New Orleans woman who was last seen 2 years ago is still searching for their loved one who disappeared without a trace.
WDSU investigator Cassie Schirm is live in the studio looking at this case and why others are turning to private detectives to find answers outside of NOPD. Cassie?
That's right. So Crystal Journey, she's a mother, sister, daughter, has yet to be found. She's one of more than 1,000 people who have been labeled as a missing person in the past 3 years by NOPD, and her family says not enough has been done to find her.
My sister, she's a happy, fun-loving person. She really enjoyed life. She was like the life of the family. She's the youngest sister.
It's been 730 days since Warlette Journey has heard from her sister, Crystal.
My niece called me on Christmas Day of 21 and told me that she had been trying to contact her mom since the 22nd, and Christmas was on the 25th. I started trying to call her, and she wasn't answering, and she wasn't calling me back. We would always be able to contact. We would make phone calls. She would call back, but this time it was nothing. And then all of a sudden, her location was turned on. So then I filed a missing person report.
A report from NOPD states on December 22nd of 2021, Crystal left her home and got into a black Toyota Avalon to make her way to a concert. She never returned home. The vehicle Crystal entered that evening is believed to belong to Roosevelt Marshall, who's also believed to be the last person to see Journey before she was reported missing.
It's on record that he had threatened to kill her multiple times. And she was really in fear for her life.
At that time, there were 3 warrants out for Marshall's arrest, 2 from NOPD and 1 from JPSO.
What made you guys want to hire a private detective?
Because I felt like NOPD wasn't moving fast enough for me to get answers and find out what happened, especially because her boyfriend had such a record, a rap sheet, longer than both of ours. And the fact that it was on file that he threatened to kill her, immediately my heart sunk because I felt like something bad had really happened.
We basically tried to retrace her steps from the night she went missing.
About 3 months after Crystal's disappearance, the family hired a local detective, Tara Eves.
She was last seen with him. Now, according to a statement that they originally had from him in OPD, he said that he dropped her off at her friend's beauty shop because she was going to go get her hair done. But when we talked to that friend said she never showed up. So at that point, we knew that we needed to find the car they were in and find out where that car went and where he went. Because at that point, nobody else had heard from Roosevelt Marshall.
Within 10 days, she was able to find him through a license plate search. His car was in Marietta, Georgia.
I had to hire somebody in Georgia to go out to where he was and actually obtain photos so I can say, hey, yeah, the car's here. This is where he is. And then NOPD was able to get, I want to say, Cobb County involved in Georgia, and they took it from there.
Records show Marshall was arrested in Georgia on August 8th of 2022 for warrants issued in 2020 for aggravated assault, unauthorized use of a motor vehicle, and battery upon a dating partner. He was brought back to New Orleans where those charges were dropped by the district attorney office 2 months later. NOPD says they did not interview Marshall about Crystal's disappearance. Instead, the detectives in Cobb County, Georgia questioned him. I'm told transcripts of that interview are not being released.
It's just very hard when you have nowhere to go and you're getting roadblocked every time you ask NOPD a question.
Eve says, unfortunately, this isn't the first New Orleans family that's reached out.
We get missing persons calls all the time.
Why do you think that is?
Unfortunately, there is a stigma that NOPD does not have the manpower and they just cannot handle these cases. So they reach out.
NOPD turned down a request for an interview, instead explained in an email missing person cases are handled at the district level, and detectives utilize all of these methods to search for missing persons.
Do you think enough is being done here in the city of New Orleans to find people who are missing?
I think a lot of missing person cases are not getting the attention that they need.
While NOPD does not keep its own database, they did give us these stats. In 2021, more than 1,400 people were reported missing. 335 of those cases are still open. In 2022, just under 1,400 people were reported missing. 391 are still open. And so far this year, almost 1,000 people have been reported missing. 387 are still active. That means NOPD still has open missing persons cases on more than 1,000 people.
Something has to be done. We can't go on like this where people just disappear and nothing is done about it.
What do you think happened with your sister?
I know it's just not, it's not like her to just disappear. I mean, it's over 2 years now and it's still nothing, just to vanish without a trace. That's just not her personality. She loves her family too much.
Even though Crystal's case feels cold, Warlett says she's not done fighting for the truth.
And it still feels like a nightmare, but I just have to keep doing emailing and trying to see what kind of help I can get so I can find closure, because I won't rest until I find out what happened to her.
Now, if you do have any information about this case, you're asked to call NOPD. In studio, I'm Cassie Schirm, WDSU Investigates.
Thank you, Cassie. Just like a normal thing in the city in New Orleans, you kind of expect it now.
Well, drivers feeling helpless. More than 1,000 cars have been stolen in the city of New Orleans in just the past 2 months.
And it's a story WDSU Investigates has covered extensively, but as the crime mounts, some insurance agents say the crime is costing you even if you're not a victim. WDSU's investigative reporter Cassie Schirm live in studio to explain. Cassie.
Well, guys, it's costing people hundreds of dollars each year just by living in the parish. And if your neighborhood has been a frequent target for thieves, you're going to have to pay up even more. But agents say there are some things you need to do if you become a victim.
It's a shock. You feel violated, and you go, wow, where is the van?
Car thieves are now even hitting those who help New Orleans drivers protect their vehicles.
My name's all over the van, so I simply said, if you see this van, I'm not in it. Please let us know where you've seen it last. And we recovered it 4 days later.
Auto insurer Dan Burkhart's insurance van was stolen right in front of his business and later found damaged in Orleans Parish.
At this point, they were using the van to haul stolen motorcycles.
It's a crime Burkhart knows all too well, but normally he's busy on the other side.
We have customers throughout the New Jersey, New Orleans area, so we get calls all the time.
WDSU Investigates first reported 4,000 cars stolen in 2022, and so far, just this year, nearly 1,300.
It's become an epidemic level, and New Orleans is ranked number 4th as far as cities and most vehicles stolen.
Burkhart says if you become a victim, there are some things you need to know about overall car insurance. The first thing he says to do is call your agent.
And you don't know who's got it and who they're running into and who may be injuring. And you're off the hook as the owner of that vehicle, when the insurance company is also as well off the hook with having to pay out for damages caused by thieves.
And while you wait, auto insurance companies can help you with a rental while they work out your claim.
There's going to be a 30-day wait, and the first thing I want to do is, where do I drive? Well, most policies, in fact, all policies have a theft rental car provision.
But unfortunately, if a stolen car is never found, it will cost a driver even more down the road.
You know, a theft will count against you. And as soon as you start shopping around and it shows up that you had a comprehensive claim, that's going to be some points that are going to follow you. So it might be a good idea to install an alarm system, a club, because you're going to get picked on for not protecting the property that the insurance company is insuring.
And the more insurance has to pay for stolen cars,
the more the rest of us pay toward our cost of insurance.
Jim Donnellan, Louisiana Commissioner of Insurance, says it impacts everyone.
Your car hasn't been stolen. These crimes still impact you when it comes to insurance?
Definitely, no question about it. It certainly is a problem that is no doubt showing up in the increased cost of insurance in Orleans Parish, which is the most expensive parish in Louisiana to buy auto insurance already.
And for policyholders who have been hit more than once in their neighborhoods, like the French Quarter.
About 4 o'clock in the morning last night, 3 or 4 people drove by, parked right here where we're standing, and started smashing windows.
When it comes time for their next auto insurance renewal, they'll see a higher price tag.
Look at zip codes, yes. That's where most of the damages and the thefts.
WDSU Investigates found, according to the City of New Orleans calls to service, these are the top 5 zip codes that could be impacted the most because of stolen vehicles, with the Milan neighborhood being number 1, Little Woods a second, then Bywater, Bayou St. John, and Tremay.
And they have the right to determine where they can increase rates based on where the claims are coming from,
leaving drivers desperate to protect their property, hoping the city can do more to stop this.
We've discussed getting weapons ourselves, which, you know, we hate to go that route, but this is getting pretty bad.
Now, one of the ways to lower auto insurance rates is to do programs like Safe Drivers, where you can download an app or have a device installed on your car to track your driving. Burkhart says that can help, but guys, it only helps if you actually are driving well. So it's one of those things that, you know, you want to keep on driving pretty good.
Do y'all know where they're at?
The answer to that, you mean in real time, if you're asking that in real time, no, we do not know where they are. Currently, the court.
Well, juveniles unmonitored, you heard that right.
Yeah, WDSU Investigates found that teenage criminals in Orleans Parish who are released on ankle monitors are not being monitored right now by the courts.
WDSU's Cassie Schirm demands answers as to why there's a gap allowing teens to recommit crime. Cassie.
Well, guys, here at Orleans Parish Juvenile Court, the ankle monitors they're using are free to the courts and free to the families. But how they're being used and what I uncovered has some victims of teen crime concerned.
We get a report, but that's a report in the past tense. That's where the kid has been, not where the kid is currently, nor where it will be going.
I sat down with Judge Renard Derensburg, who says having a monitoring system for youth offenders is important.
What we believe is that a successful juvenile justice system is one that's able to manage youth outside of detention.
Right now, Orleans Parish Juvenile Courts do that using 25 ankle monitors borrowed from the Office of Juvenile Justice. But WDSU Investigates uncovered they aren't receiving data in real time. On the other hand, the adult criminal court system is using a company that does provide real-time data from ankle monitors. The cost is passed on to the person wearing it. I asked Judge Derensburg why not do the same in the juvenile system.
Our parents cannot afford $250 a month. One of the things we do in juvenile court is try not to create a barrier of finance. And this is borrowed for free. This is free to us, to the court, and to the family.
Sickening. I think the community should be very alarmed about it.
But some say this current system for juveniles is not working since the judges only get ankle monitor data every 30 days. We spoke to 3 victims of 3 separate crimes, from carjackings to shootings, who want to remain anonymous for their safety.
System is not for us. You know, they may want to hurt my family even more.
I'm scared for my safety, I'm scared for my family's safety, and yes, I'm scared for the community's safety.
Violent criminals are being released back on the streets to re-victimize their victims. How many times in the last year have we seen where somebody went and finished the job? And that is solely because they were allowed to.
Even if they have an ankle monitor on, all you know is where they were at the time of it. The ankle monitor does not stop them from doing things.
It is a big problem. Cassie, I think you're really on to something. In terms of why repeat offenders are creating new problems for community members and causing more harm after they've already been arrested.
District Attorney Jason Williams says after our inquiries, he's now taking a look at how ankle monitors are being used in the parish.
If no one is looking at a screen to see where that dot is going on the map in New Orleans, then there is no monitor. It's just a bracelet.
Do you think that the criminals are finding this out as well?
You know, I can tell you that if an accused person realizes that they do something that is in violation of their release while on a monitor and they get away with it one day, you can rest assured they're probably going to take that inch, turn it into a mile. And that's what we're seeing. So we need to put some real either brakes on releases when the monitor is going to be applied, or add a whole bunch of more robust systems to put in place with electronic monitoring. It's necessary for the sake of public safety.
Judges have even raised questions after some city leaders have blamed them for the recent rise in crime.
Since we've been speaking about this monitor for at least the last 365 days or more, and always, if the fingers are being pointed, it goes right back at the judges and what we didn't do. Well, here it is in black and white. We have given to you all, to the council, to the mayor, to the commissioner, what our needs are.
Those judges say instead of getting a new ankle monitoring system, they're proposing the city invest in a program called Repath that monitors teens through their phones.
We can track them better through GPS monitoring, and we can have check-ins more frequently. And what we can do with this process is that we're able to be in touch with the youth. We can contact them when we know they're out of the range.
Wouldn't it be easy for a kid to be able to put the phone down or be able to walk away from the phone?
It's no different than when they don't charge the electronic monitor or they cut it off. I mean, it is not a solution to a problem. What it is a tool to help us to be able to more manage youth.
The program would cost the city $72,000, equivalent to $2 per day per youth for 100 youths.
Keeps us connected with them, keeps us involved in their lives, and keeps other people involved in their lives as well. Because as I said, unlike the ankle monitor, this tool allows us to connect the families.
So ultimately, will it deter crime?
Some kids are committing crimes when they're not on an ankle monitor. Some kids have never been to jail and they commit crimes. Our goal is not, we can't predict the future.
Now at this time, that Repath app that goes on your cell phone is just a proposal from the judges. There's been no plan put in place just yet, but we will continue to follow the story. Reporting here in New Orleans, I'm Cassie Schirm, WDSU Investigates.
All right, Cassie, thank you. Tonight at 10, WDSU Investigates dives into how ankle monitors are being used in adult court. Well, teens who have committed crimes are going unmonitored. WDSU Investigates uncovered at 6 that judges at Orleans Juvenile Court are only periodically monitoring the locations of those teens.
And now at 10, we take a look at what is happening when it comes to adults.
This is the largest digital prison you've ever seen in this area.
Hundreds of adults in Orleans Parish are on ankle monitors right now. WDSU Investigates looked into the company that does the majority of monitoring for adult criminal court.
And WDSU investigative reporter Cassie Schirm shows you why that company says more needs to be done with the teens who juvenile court is leaving unmonitored.
You know how many people are around you right now wearing these things? And this isn't little stuff. Okay, that's just where we're sitting right here. Come on, this is surrounding you right now. You can drive down the road and look out on the ground, you're going to see an ankle monitor. And it's us.
Matt Dennis with ASAP, an ankle monitoring company out of New Orleans, says their operations are about supervision and keeping the public safe.
We take people that are in jail, that the courts want to release, and we enforce an ankle monitor order, whether it be home incarceration, curfew, going to work, whatever it may be, stay away orders.
ASAP started monitoring in New Orleans after the Orleans Parish Sheriff's Office dropped their monitoring program.
In 2015, when the Sheriff's taxpayer-funded program closed, they spent $1.2 million and they had 45 people.
The company is now monitoring nearly 300 people in the area.
And the city spent $0. Zero. Not one penny. From 2015 till now.
The cost of the ankle monitor goes in the person wearing it.
Under the Sheriff's program in 2014, juveniles were billed to the city at $15 a day, adults at $10. We charge everybody $6 a day.
That's $180 for 1 month. The monitoring program is 24/7, and if someone goes outside of their court-ordered zone or tries to cut the ankle monitor in the middle of the night, ASAP is alerted right away and sends their team to the location and NOPD if needed.
We actually collect data and get the type of signatures needed to enforce the court's order with full arrest powers, where most programs are just, you're paying, you're getting your device, and you're going home. So it's a much more detailed process because we have more responsibilities.
Not having active monitoring for teens in Orleans Parish, Dennis says, leaves room for deadly consequences.
They're just running wild. They're going to kill people, they're going to rob people, and they're going to kill themselves. And that's what's happening.
Dennis says in his 30 years in the industry, he's seen that active monitoring and accountability from the courts go hand in hand to make a difference.
The judge needs to say, you're not staying home for your curfew. Put you back in jail. I'm going to let you sit there for 2 weeks. Let's think about this. That's the type of coordination we need. And it's not the ankle monitor program that's the problem. It's the judges don't want a real ankle monitor program. Because what are you going to do if the kid violates? You got to be willing to actually enforce your order. So in the adult court, the judges enforce them, man. They're strict. They've learned that with this program, they can be strict.
ASAP currently runs Iberville and West Baton Rouge juvenile court monitoring systems. Dennis says he knows if everyone works together here in Orleans Parish, it can be successful.
We're kind of at a standoff with juvenile court. While we completely run adult court, we won't service juvenile until they agree to do it right. They got to do it right. They have to set standards. They have to do it right, and the judges have to participate. That's easy. The 18th JDC, we now do all of their juveniles. It's a process. It's simple to do. It's easy to do. They know it can work. We can do it as a team and make it work. Orleans has to be ready to do it the right way first.
Now, some question just how well those ankle monitors work. Thursday at 6, I put the technology to the test to see just how accurate they are. Reporting here in New Orleans, I'm Cassie Schirm, WDSU Investigates.
For more of WDSU Investigates coverage of the monitoring systems in the juvenile justice system, you can go to WDSU.com.
WDSU News at 6.
Tonight on WDSU Investigates, a digging deeper into ankle monitoring systems. This comes after we uncovered juveniles on ankle monitors in Orleans Parish are not being tracked daily. On the other hand, data from adults wearing one tracks in real time.
Well, some question its accuracy. A WDSU investigative reporter Cassie Schirm put this tracking technology to the test. Cassie.
That's right. I learned nearly 300 people are on ankle monitors here in Orleans Parish being monitored by a company called ASAP. I got a behind-the-scenes look at how they're monitoring those adults and quickly track down someone not following the rules.
You don't want it to be too tight or too loose. If it's too loose, it's actually worse than being too tight.
And why is that?
Because it'll bang on your ankle as you walk, and we do not want that. Because we want you to be happy that you're out of jail, not suffering because you have a monitor on.
Okay, so now I'm going to get a 15-minute head start, and I'm going to be driving off here in the city of New Orleans, and we're going to test to see how accurate the locations of these ankle monitors are.
We're going to go ahead and get ready. We're going to track them and find them and apprehend that person.
We only got one camera right now.
Hey,
Thanks for picking me up.
At 142. And so she's just about 5 minutes down the road.
Where's she at on the screen?
Right here, right here.
With your fingers?
Yeah, right there. See, right there.
So Trevor's here. He's my getaway driver. We're trying to find a location that they don't know, so they're going to be searching for us, and they're probably actively still searching for us right now.
Going
City Park.
But she's over here on Moses Street, right there by the river. In a situation like this, the offender's on a monitor. We don't need to go fast. We want to be safe around the city. There's pedestrians, especially during Mardi Gras and things. We don't want to have to speed. And right now, I've got her on Dreyfus Drive, 53 Dreyfus Drive.
Thank you.
And so you'll get a ping about every 1 minute, I'm told?
Yeah. Yep.
My 15 minutes is up. I got some coffee. Now I got to go hide. We'll see if they can find me.
It's like Cafe du Monde City Park.
So what's going on? She's moving around on us?
Yep. She is. And if you see, we started tracking on this device here, and now she's moved to their Cafe du Monde City Park. That's us, and the person we're tracking is here. So, and it looks like we need to keep going down Dreyfus Street, and then we'll either on foot or some sort of bridge, we'll find her. The adrenaline is, am I going to see the family tonight? Is this the day that I'm going to see the Lord? My thoughts are, let's keep myself safe, let's keep my team safe, because sometimes we have 4 or 5 people with us. How do we approach the subject cautiously?
Perfect.
Come on.
To make it a little bit trickier, I have water almost completely surrounding me, so we'll see.
When I call for a device, that's the device. So tracking. All right, go ahead, lead the way. I'm gonna be your backup. Radio on. Check. Which way? Yeah, you go that way. I'm gonna go this way.
A working part right here, right?
Yeah, this is a part that, it's part of our life. It's part of our life. What else are you gonna do? Okay, we found you. Stop. All right. Well, look, ma'am. Listen, we gotta take you into custody. Please put your hands behind your back. Palm to palm. Palm to palm. Yep. Thank you. Don't want to make it uncomfortable, but sure don't want you getting away. So I heard about you.
Now, when it comes to the accuracy for our tests, their GPS had me right where I was standing. They were also sending me messages to my phone the entire time showing my exact location, so there wasn't really even a second where they didn't know where I was. And guys, it was pretty interesting to see the behind the scenes.
Interesting with the technology, but I guess now that we know that there's accuracy, now what? What does that really mean in terms of fighting crime, preventing crime, or keeping people safe?
And the purpose was to kind of see the behind the scenes of the accuracy part, but then I also learned while working on this story is it's not going to prevent all different types of crime, but the company says it could prevent some. So some people are put on court orders where they have to stay at their house or they can go to and from work in their home, and if they break that rule or they cut their ankle monitor, this company is able to have full arrest powers and go pick them up and take them back to court with all the information for the judges. But also something interesting, a victim can also get a fob as well. So if that victim is out and about at a restaurant or going to and from somewhere to go shopping, and a person with an ankle monitor is in their vicinity that's not supposed to be near them, they're able to tell the victim as well as the person wearing the ankle monitor. So that could deter crime from happening or potentially getting in a scary situation.
So that would alert the authorities as well. And so the accuracy I thought was really interesting. I have the Life 360 app, and that's exactly what it does, locates you
just
exactly.
Like that. It's just like your phone where you can see the location, but the thing is, I was pretty shocked. I was thinking that maybe, sometimes cell phones mess up and stuff, but they said the technology is pretty soundproof.
Yeah, had to give up your coffee.
Yeah, all right. No coffee.
All right, Cassie, thank you so much. All right, WDSU investigates cut and caught. A teen is behind bars right now after cutting his ankle monitor and then committing another crime, and that's according to authorities. Gina.
That's right. WDSU investigates reporter Cassie Schirm actually first reported this last month. Juvenile ankle monitors, they are not being monitored in real time in New Orleans. And Cassie, you actually tracked down that monitor, and we learned more about the person who got it.
That's right. So WDSU investigates found this ankle monitor cut off and left in the streets at the Willow Apartments, and it's been there for days. We actually were surprised that it was here today as well. So now there's an outcry from community members, and they're saying something needs to be done.
It was disturbing to see.
Unmonitored and unaccounted for.
This just shows our problem, right? This just shows a bigger problem that we had, that literally an ankle monitor was cut off and no one was looking for it. Like, no one was tracking it.
Criminal justice consultant Justin Brown spoke to the family of the teen who was wearing this monitor just 2 weeks ago.
A kid cut it off and he went out to do other crimes. He was arrested, he went to juvenile, and he's working with the courts. The family is working with the court system to have a better process, right?
The teen is now accused of burglarizing a business. The juvenile court judge gave him 3 months in jail for cutting the monitor. Brown says even that sentence baffled some.
They wasn't happy. You know, they was like, wow, just 3 months, you know. They didn't feel like that was enough time. But nevertheless, that's what the judge said they gave him. So we're just going to continue to follow this case and see what happens, and hopefully this person gets some help.
Now, taking a closer look at this ankle monitor, there is a number on the back that you're supposed to call if found. It says do not throw it away. So we're going to give that number a call and see exactly what happens next.
You have reached the B, a return center number. This line will not accept voice messages. To receive the reward, please return the found equipment to P.O. Box 11141, Boulder, Colorado 80301.
We're now learning the ankle monitor has been here in this lot for more than a week. Some say left, forgotten, and unmonitored.
That's the same thing for these kids. These kids are, you know, on ankle monitor, out here doing crimes, and no one is tracking it. No one is trying to look for it. So it shows that, you know, that's a big problem that we have in our city right now.
Right now at Orleans Parish Adult Court, a company called ASAP is actively monitoring, and if the strap is cut, they send agents to the door to arrest you.
We see in the adult system that it's $250 and they have to pay for it, but it's monitored. They can track them. They can see what's going on, right? We need, if we're going to use this system, we have to use that for the juvenile system as well.
Brown says it's a difference that could mean life or death here in the city.
I just wish the court system could listen to some of our concerns and kind of change the system just a little bit, because it's that time.
Now, WDSU investigates are continuing to look into concerns on ankle monitors and how they're being used here in New Orleans, but also other parishes as well.
All right, and you know, Cassie, that ankle monitor, you will be returning that to the company.
Yes, we're not keeping
Colorado,
it. It will be returned. And one of the things that's kind of interesting, I'd be interested to know more, are people returning these? Because if there is a reward on here, you know, that might give more incentive. And I've heard that these are pretty pricey. So, I mean, it should be interesting to kind of learn more about that as well. But I was actually surprised it was there for that long.
Yeah. All right, Cassie, thank you for that report. We look forward to seeing what happens next. For more on our deeper dive into our series Unmonitored, you can go to our website, WDSU.com.
DSU investigative reporter Cassie Schirm is live in the studio now with a closer look at the suspect's history of domestic abuse, according to documents.
That's right. We just got new information that 9 days ago, NOPD had showed up to that home after the mother of the children called 911 saying her ex-husband, Joseph Washington, was threatening her life.
911 was the location of the emergency.
It's 4911 America Street, New Orleans, Louisiana.
This call was made October 9th, 9 days before police believe Joseph Washington set the fire to their home, killing the 3 children.
We have a past history of domestic violence, but he's like sending me threats saying if I come back to the house and my kids are still there, and he's saying that he will leave them in the house, and he's telling me not to come back to the house. If I come back to the house, he's going to kill me.
Here's what we've uncovered so far. Joseph Washington has a lengthy history of abuse. That started in 2015 with his then wife and mother of the 3 children. Washington was convicted of domestic abuse and battery at least twice in 2016 and was arrested on the same charges in 2018. In 2018, the mother filed for a restraining order against Washington, claiming he repeatedly hit and choked her and often attacked her while she was holding the children. In that document, the mother wrote, quote, Joseph said, quote, "Who should I kill first, you or the kids?" Then he started to choke me, push me back against the wall after he threw me on the floor while the baby was in my hands and repeated to choke me. He dragged me to the back to look for his gun, and when he couldn't find it, he said, quote, "I don't need a gun to kill you." I made an escape to the front of the door to scream for help. The mail lady called the police. In the divorce filing a year later, it states that after the mother got out free, the kids were still inside, stating, quote, "The defendant Washington then yelled out to the petitioner, the mother, that he will set the house on fire. The defendant then turned the stove on, causing the smoke to fill the house by the time police arrived. He was then arrested when police arrived. The judge then granted the divorce and gave the mother full custody.
Now, we've put in multiple public records requests to see if NOPD had been called to that same house earlier this year. And WDSU Investigates also took a closer look at emergency response times from this morning. I'm going to send it over to Aubrey Killian for those details.
Like the wheelie popping, doing like 60, I think it can be a dangerous situation for sure. Something bad's going to happen from it.
Well, WDSU Investigates kicking one crime trend in New Orleans to the curb. We're talking about ATVs on our roads, interstates, and neighborhoods. It is a crime that breaks state law, but we are witnessing it more often now.
WDSU Investigates reporter Cassie Schirm found out what seems to be a shocking lack of enforcement.
It's become a regular occurrence to see ATV drivers driving up and down the roadways where I'm standing right now here on Canal Street. But what WDSU Investigates just found is only 13 ATV citations have been given out to drivers from NOPD since 2016. But some of the drivers on the roadway here tell me that's not enough. You can hear them in the neighborhood and see them driving in and out of traffic on the interstate and even downtown running red lights.
You're in your car and there are 30 or 40 four-wheelers surrounding you. So yeah, I think it's picked up a lot lately and more crazy and brazen.
For drivers sharing the street, there's a lot of worry the situation could take a left turn.
Probably more concerned about one of the ATVs bumping into another one and causing an accident and you're running over someone. Probably the nervous drivers, like I might hit one of these ATVs.
Driving ATVs on roads and highways in Louisiana is against the state law. But the law has not stopped drivers, and the consequences have been fatal.
I talked to God from the time I seen her, talked to God till I got the ambulance. I talked to God when I was in the hospital, and I talked to God while she was there, and I've been talking to God since.
It's been close to 9 years since 37-year-old Daphne Cola was struck and killed by an ATV rider in the Treme walking out of a bar. Her sister, Tiffany Cola, says it was her worst nightmare.
It was gruesome. That's all I could tell you.
After Cola's sister died, she said she was hoping there would be more enforcement so this wouldn't happen to anyone else.
I made a promise before she took her last breath that I would make sure I get them off the street. I don't know how just yet, but I will.
But since then, other accidents have happened. Fast forward to 2017. Another crash ended with the death of a rider.
1 minute, he's just a young boy. He's having, thinking he's having fun. And the next minute, he lost his life.
And this past March, an ATV and a school bus collided in Algiers. A child on the bus and the driver of the ATV were hurt. The problem spans outside New Orleans. Plaquemines Parish Sheriff deputies are seen chasing ATV riders on the highway just last year. And in April, one teen in Slidell died crashing an ATV. Another teen was hurt. But not everyone agrees that ATVs should be illegal.
And this is our culture. We ride on the street.
WDSU Investigates thought it was important to reach out to ATV drivers and riders themselves. They described to me that this is a way of life, and they're actually helping to reduce other crimes.
Different energies. When you just wake up and you don't have nothing to do, that's why, the next thing you know, they see a gun or this, or they doing real crazy things that they shouldn't be doing that will really change their life.
In 2018, a state law added penalties and jail time for reckless operation of bikes and ATVs, including speeding, disregarding traffic signs, wheelies, and stunts. If caught, you could be fined up to $500 and 90 days in jail.
This has been a constant complaint, constant issues with this, and the neighbors and the businesses have had enough.
But the problem has continued years later.
What can the city of New Orleans do to stop this?
It's very dangerous, and we've had loss of life in our community, in our city, by this type of activity.
I asked Mayor LaToya Cantrell about the efforts to combat this trend.
What can we do? I believe it's what we are doing. One, asking for just increased enforcement on our state highways by LSP. Wanting to beef up our traffic patrols.
The crime is happening in front of officers, and Mayor Cantrell says officers can chase, but the biggest concern is protecting all lives at all costs.
They can have authorized pursuits. They can. But in that, we have to think about everyone and the dangers that present.
But drivers having to share the roadway say more needs to be done before someone else dies.
It's inevitable. It's been going on too long. The numbers are huge. The occurrences are too frequent. I think it's inevitable something bad's going to happen.
Now, the city tells me they're asking for help from the state to tackle this problem while also beefing up their traffic division, saying it will help to get more boots on the roads. Reporting here in New Orleans, I'm Cassie Schirm, WDSU Investigates.
All right, Cassie, thank you so much. Louisiana State Police say the best thing you can do is call 911 if you witness the drivers and to notify state or local authorities if anyone hears word that an illegal ride is about to happen.
28 cars stolen in just one day. WDSU has been tracking the data, and we told you yesterday 376 cars were stolen in New Orleans just 2 weeks into the new year. And in just the last 24 hours, we have now passed that 400 mark. WDSU investigative reporter Cassie Schirm live in New Orleans. Cassie, crime data shows that this crime is not just concentrated to one specific neighborhood in the city.
That's right, Travers, and 404 to be exact. And with the lack of officers, some community members tell me they're having to take their own investigations into their own hands.
There where that glass is on the ground.
One by one.
Less than a minute. That's all it takes.
Cars are stolen.
It's kind of just like a normal thing in the city, in New Orleans. You kind of expect it now.
In 2022, nearly 4,000 cars stolen, leaving car owners feeling helpless as they watch their cars taken, caught on camera, losing hope of getting their cars back.
You can see it takes them anywhere from 10 to 30 seconds to crawl in a back, knock out a back window, crawl in there, get in the front.
So where do these stolen cars go? They're dropped just about anywhere. And most of the time when they're found by police or the owners, there's literally nothing left inside.
And if people find abandoned ones, then hopefully someone will see it and be like, oh, hey, that's mine,
That's what prompted one anonymous community member to create an Instagram account, Stolen Auto NOLA, taking matters into their own hands after their stolen car was recovered through social media in December.
Got it back like that, and I was just like, you know what? I want to start a page where people have one place they can come to, post pictures and information about their vehicles, and hopefully we can help some people find them.
This is how it works. There's a database in Excel that lists names, makes, models, and license plates, and then posts tips and reports.
We had 3 people send tips on one single car. So we traced it from the upper ninth to the lower ninth, and then hours later someone saw it again in the French Quarter, and that person will probably get that car back today.
In just 1 month, the account has more than 180 cars stolen in their database. So far, the page has recovered dozens with help from the community.
And every day it just gets bigger and bigger, and we have more people sending in more tips, which is the amazing thing because the community is ready to cooperate.
All in an effort to assist NOPD.
They're not out there having to search for, these, I think they call them nuisance thefts and everything, and having to search for the cars. If we can just be like, oh, hey, it's here and this is the owner and they're there waiting for you, that's a giant chunk out of their job.
Now, an important thing to note, if you do find your car, NOPD says the best thing you can do is call 911 and wait for an officer to respond. Reporting here in New Orleans, I'm Cassie Schirm, WDSU News. Back to you.
All right, Cassie, thank you. An 18-year-old man.
Well, millions of dollars in the red. An investigation is underway to see if some people are getting around high unpaid sewerage and water bills.
WDSU Investigates Cassie Schirm live in studio. Cassie, you're finding that there's a lot of money due to the Sewage and Water Board.
That's right, guys. According to the Sewage and Water Board data we obtained, more than $133 million is owed in unpaid dues. It's a problem some city leaders say is a result of incorrect bills and possible wrongdoings by employees.
Outrageous bill pricing, billing being inconsistent.
The bill right after this, $1,500.
Peter Lynch is a New Orleanian who, like many, got sticker shock when he opened a recent sewage and water bill.
Like why my bill is 10 times higher for 1 month than it was the month before. I don't use that much water in December.
And city leaders have gotten an earful.
It's been an issue since the moment we've stepped into office, and it's been one that's been pervasive for the last 6 years.
An issue Councilmember Joe DeRusso says needs to be a top priority.
Until you get the billing fixed, we can't talk about anything else.
WDSU Investigates dug into Sewerage and Water Board data. It shows since 2019, the unpaid bills have added up by more than $107 million. That's not even counting overdue bills within the last 2 months. What's also surprising is who may not be paying those bills. That's what the Inspector General and his investigators are now digging into.
Some of these individuals that are not paying their water bills are Sewage and Water Board employees themselves. And while we can't talk about aspects of the ongoing investigation, there are different things that I think would it's very telling, and it's something that has to be corrected. And yes, we do have to. It's some internal matters that they're doing.
Now, WDSU Investigates requested the number of Sewage and Water Board employees who still owe, but the department chose not to give us that information. But they did provide the policy for the department for employees, which states employees of Sewage and Water Board are not allowed to originate, process, or approve any transactions for their own personal accounts, relatives' accounts, or another employee's account.
Apparently, there looks like there may be issues with inside dealing, with fixing bills for people that really shouldn't be, which of course is the case, is going to inflame the public, as it absolutely should.
And WDSU Investigates found there have been a handful of employees who have been investigated by the board for doing just that. According to investigation records obtained from Sewage and Water Board, an employee of several years was found inappropriately adjusting and voiding bills for her service account, her husband's service account, and her mother's service account, resulting in transactions for services worth more than $6,300 that were being mishandled. According to the records, that employee resigned. But as the unpaid bills continue to grow, there are some questions on what is the exact amount outstanding.
Do you think we'll ever know at a point, like, how much of the unpaid bills are actually supposed to be paid and not paid?
I don't know the answer to that. How much of that is bad debt, where it's just the agencies vastly overcharge people and it's uncollectible and people don't owe it? How much of it is people may owe a portion or even all of it, but they feel like their bill is so wrong that they're not going to pay it, and so it becomes a really complicated thing.
Still, some paying their bills are holding on to hope that a fix may come sooner than later.
It needs to get better, of course, but hopefully they get it to a point where everything is consistent.
Now, we reached out to Sewage and Water Board, and they sent us this statement regarding the billing issue, saying, quote, "Since this was discovered, we have strengthened our policy, expediting the termination of any employee whose actions negatively impact the amount owed to the utility. We have also hired an internal SWBNO Chief Audit Executive to add another layer of monitoring, tracking, and safeguarding against such activities." Now, I'm being told that the Chief Audit Executive will make additional recommendations to safeguard those resources, and the organization says they're committed to transparency and accountability, and we're going to be following this, guys.
Yeah. Please keep us posted on that. Thank you so much, Cassie, for that. This isn't the first time, as we know, that the Inspector General has investigated Sewage and Water Board.
Well, just 2 years ago, they reported more than 24 Sewage and Water Board employees using fake or unauthorized handicap tags to not have to pay city parking meters.
We've got...
We cannot go on like this. We have to fix it.
Indeed. NOPD staffing at a critical low right now. The New Orleans Inspector General says it raises concerns for your safety and it's costing you money.
This comes as the department is below 900 officers, a number which it hasn't seen since World War II. WDSU investigative reporter Cassie Schirm obtained that report released from the OIG. Cassie, break it down.
Well, ladies, according to this report here, the lack of officers could cost the city tens of millions of dollars, and the city has already spent thousands because of it. The Inspector General says recruitment and retention should be the top of mind.
Between May 2021 and April 2023, the NOPD lost 287 officers.
The New Orleans Inspector General Ed Michel has spent months investigating how the number of officers is impacting the city.
Staffing shortage has created a safety threat for all New Orleanians.
But it's not just safety, it's also costing the city millions. Due to the large number of officers separating from the NOPD Louisiana Municipal Police Employees Retirement System, the pension plan for the police officers across the state requires the city of New Orleans to pay more than $50,000 per month.
And this is going to be an incredible shortfall over the next 15 years. We're talking about $38 million.
And $38 million, are we talking about taxpayer money going towards that?
That will come out of the general fund. That's taxpayer-funded money. That's correct. We determined that the city was actually informed of the partially dissolved pension plan, and to not inform the city council in a timely manner was somewhat irresponsible because the city council is responsible for the origination and the implementation of the budget.
It's a lot of money, yeah.
Councilmember Helena Moreno says they recently found out about the fines and the council is searching for solutions.
We had a resolution on Friday that said we actually want the city to study moving NOMERS employees who work, NOMERS, which is another pension plan for city employees, who are part of NOPD, to EMPERS. And if we were able to move NOMERS employees who are working at NOPD to EMPERS, these fines would go away.
In an email, EMPERS told me they did give the city that solution previously, but their emails were ignored. So I asked the mayor for her plan.
What's the city's plan to deal with, paying back for EMPERS with the whole police pension fund?
So our plan is one that we don't agree. So we're looking for litigation, as we've said, and we're going to go down that path because right is right and we feel wrong is wrong. And as it relates to this in terms of paying back.
I know EMPERS had recommended the city maybe transfer some of the people that are on NOMERS over to their system. That would help, dissolve some of those payments. Is that something that you guys have considered?
No. I said that we're considering going down the path towards of litigation. I don't agree with any of it. And so at this time, that is our approach. We don't think it's fair. We don't think it's accurate. So we're going to push back.
Getting the numbers up would end the fines. When it comes to the number of officers leaving, the OIG says NOPD is going in the right direction by adding more civilians to the force to help with the workload and upping pay. The IG also looked at what concerned officers the most, and it wasn't pay.
Cultural factors such as office politics, nepotism, corruption, or perceived lack of support for the officers were some of the most commonly cited aspects that the officers disliked most about the job.
That's something Interim Chief Michelle Woodfork says she's been working on since day one taking over.
I am definitely doing something to change that. I'm putting people where they can thrive, those who are experts at it, not my friends, not my family, not anything like that. That is the culture that I intended to change. I wanted everyone here to feel like they had an opportunity.
Chief Woodfork says if she continues as chief, she will get NOPD out of the hole.
My overall expectations is to get a really high number of applicants for both the civilian staff and also the commissioned officers. We have been doing a great job of it this year. Last year, we only hired 28 recruit applicants. This year, we're above 60. And then we still have another class coming in November. Hopefully, by the end of the year, we'll have hired at least 90 police recruits. That's my hope. And that gets that number that everyone's talking about that we need to reach. It brings us closer and closer to that number.
Now, the OIG also says it's important NOPD focuses on employees they currently have. He recommends giving current employees a place to provide honest feedback.
All right, Cassie, let's get back to those fines. You
Yes.
mentioned that the mayor's administration looking to sue Empers to stop the fines altogether.
Yeah, so I guess the question is, would this be the first time?
This would actually be the third legal battle between Empers and the city. And some city leaders say they're concerned because if the city does lose this battle, we could be costing taxpayers even more money just trying to fight it. So, you know, a lot of concerns there. Different solutions are being put out, but yeah, so we're going to continue to follow this.
Yeah, hopefully they'll find a good solution very soon. Cassie, thank you so much for that update. To read the full report from the OIG, you can visit our website, WDSU.com. Margaret?